So I wanted to give you guys a quick start to finish of how we do all of our blasting. So it starts off by getting silica free river sand. So you can see the back of my ute here is full of a load of white river sand. So we basically get that, and then the next step for us is shoveling it up onto the roof of the boat. So you can sort of see up on the top there, it's basically the biggest oven tray that I've ever owned. It's 3mm steel, it's 8.5 metres by 5 metres, so it's great big, nice big area, and we can dry about 200 or 300 kgs of sand at a time when we shovel it up there, and it takes probably about 2 hours to dry that. So the next step is shoveling it up. So once we've got it to that stage, the sand comes back down, and then we throw it through our sieve, our Rolling Thunder sieve. Once we've put the sand through Rolling Thunder, we then stack it into these 10-litre containers because they're easy to carry around and they fit perfectly on top of the sandblaster. We can sit it on top and the sand just empties into the sandblasting pot without us having to hold it and filter it in. So it works great for that. So I'll show you how the process of it all is, I suppose. So this is the back end of the tank. So the compressed air comes in this fitting here, just a quick connect plug-on fitting, and then you can sort of see it diverts half of it through this pipe up here to the top of the tank, and then half of it, whatever's left, comes down through this ball valve here and then through this red pipe. So it's important that it's pressurized top and bottom, or else it just keep blowing the sand out, whatever hole isn't pressurized. So this compressed air comes down this pipe here, and then it makes its way down to this little mixing chamber here. So I'll just come a bit lower. So you can see this ball valve here. That's basically allows us to turn the sand on and off, so we can adjust how much sand is coming out. Sort of see this thin pipe is the high pressure water, and then this fat pipe is actually heavy duty fuel pipe, and that's where the air and sand come out of the bottom of that little mixing chamber, and they just sort of work their way along the pipes. We convert it from big fat fuel pipe here down into that orange and grey garden hose. So it's just 1/2-inch garden hose that we use. The cables are all just too stiff, whereas the garden hose is really flexible. It doesn't last as long. We probably get 3 months out of it and then we replace it, but it's super economical and cheap, and it just makes your life so much easier when you're blasting with it. So the nozzle and the gun and everything is interesting enough. So the lance is a standard water blaster lance, so it's just the normal sort of handle and trigger and everything like that. This is the sand line, so the compressed air and sand come down this line here, and then I've added in a ball valve, so that allows me the ability to turn the sand on and off as I'm blasting. So it turns it from a sandblaster back into just a water blaster, and I can clean up my workspace and then carry on blasting once it's all clean enough and I can see what I'm doing. So the sand works its way all the way down this pipe here and goes to the nozzle. So I'll just come in here and show you the nozzle. So this is high pressure water that comes down this pipe, and this is sand and air that comes down this pipe, and then the two of them sort of join in a bit of a venturi. So because this is going so fast at such pressure straight through, it creates a low pressure vacuum in here, and it not only sucks the sand in, but because we're forcing it with pressure, it basically gets rammed in that there. You can see we've added a whole bunch of brays on top of the little fitting here. Every maybe 4 or 5 months, the sand works its way out. It wears this down and works its way out, and you end up with little pinholes of sand and air coming out. So we just, when that happens, just die grind it back and chuck a bit of braze over top of that. The nozzle itself is pretty much just a ceramic nozzle. It's about a 5mm hole, and that gives us about a 2-inch circle on the steel when we're working. So that's the sandblasting system. Let's show it in action. So you can see the sandblaster in action here as we gently go from left to right. You can sort of see it just rips off whatever's below it, paint, mill scale, etc. The longer we stay on any one area, the more material will take off. It doesn't really dig into the steel as such, but the water you can see the water's pushing away the sand, so it keeps the area and the work area pretty clean. It's easy to see what you're doing. We've got a lot of area to cover, so we'll get into this roof. It'll probably take us 3 or 4 days all up to get this roof fully done. So I made a muck-up. We've been blasting the roof, trying to get the roof sandblasted and painted. Like above me here, the top part of the very top of the cabin on the outside. However, we use that to dry our sand. So every time we take the dry sand off, we're basically scratching the crap out of the roof. So if I blast and paint it now, I'm just going to kill whatever paint I put on there. So we have had a slight change of plan, and we're going to blast everywhere else and then do the roof absolutely last. So I'm going to start on the lounge floor. So you can sort of see it's just covered in random rubbish and drips of paint and all sorts of junk like that. So yeah, we're going to rip that all off now. So yeah, hopefully it'll maybe take us a day or two and we'll get this whole thing blasted, get this painted and off gas, and we start closing this room up and actually living back in the lounge here, which is going to be pretty exciting for us. So that's today's job, and probably the next couple of days. Let's get that done. So, just heard a very expensive clunk come out of the sandblaster. So we were belting along, sandblasting nice, everything was going fine, and all of a sudden water stopped coming out of it, and it revved up at full load for maybe a second or two, and then just went sort of clunk and stopped. Cannot turn the motor over, so I don't know if it's thrown a conrod or done something internal in the motor, or if it's jammed up in the water pump somewhere. My feeling is probably water pump, given that the water stopped. But in saying all of that, the hose has still got pressure. There's no reason why it should have died in that sense. So I had to pull apart and do a bit of investigating.
Hello darkness, my friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its ease while I was sleeping.
So after the water blaster was killed, the old sandblaster and everything was killed, for those that didn't know, somebody basically turned the water off on us while we were blasting at full noise, and it completely nuked the water pump. We have managed to be able to get a new water blaster. Technically it's the same specs, but I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be a little bit more powerful just because it's a better brand and all that sort of jazz. So let's get into it and see if it's any good. So this is it. It's a 5.5 horsepower, 2,500 psi washer from Stanley. Don't know if you guys get that in the States, and in Australia it's kind of like a cheap good brand, if that makes sense. So let's dig in and see if she's any good. So this is the water pump, the whole back end of the machine. This is the water pump. This is where you put your garden hose so that you can get the water feed, I suppose you'd call it. Standard, this machine comes with one of these little plastic garden fittings. It's like the most critical part of the machine with the crappiest type of fitting you can put on it. On my other one I had one of these basically blow apart and fail, and it completely seized the water pump, because obviously you're blasting at full pressure. If it runs out of water, it just seizes. So I never use these. They're just so stupid, such a dumb idea. I had a spare brass one, so if you're going to get a water blaster, always replace this fitting with a brass one, because it'll just save your ass so many times. Yeah, for the sake of this is a $10 part maybe, and this is a 30-cent part, and yeah, makes all the difference, eh? So we're going to swap that over, and then we'll fire it up and see how she goes. Righto, so she's all assembled. I've got the water and everything hooked up. Just give it a go and see if it works. So first time I've started it. Seems a bit gutless, can't get it off idle. So I'm going to go and read the instruction manual and figure out what the hell I'm doing wrong. So I figured it out, had the choke on like a dork. Alright, I'm going to do it again. Yeah, I'd call that a success. So I'm using a nozzle on there called a turbo nozzle. There we go. Looks like that. And basically what it does, if you haven't ever seen one of these, so it's like just comes straight out. There's no like spray or angle or anything like that. It comes straight out. There's a little ball at the end of it, and it flicks the spray like that. So you end up with circular patterns, but because it's a straight spray as opposed to a fan, whenever you fan it you lose energy. So because it's a straight spray you end up with a lot more like cleaning power, I suppose you call it. So these turbo nozzles are awesome for stripping off marine growth and stuff like that. Using this, that machine seems to have a lot more grunt than the old machine, so that's a good indicator that we'll probably be able to sandblast a bit better as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, seems to have worked.